welcome back to the Broken Strength Podcast. It has been a minute, to say the least. I've honestly taken a very long, much needed mental health break, but I'm back and I'm ready to be open and honest and just share kind of what's been going on and how I'm feeling, and maybe give you guys some tips and tricks if you're stuck in the same kind of situations going on in your life. But when I first started this podcast, I wanted it to be a place for anybody to come to realize they aren't alone with feeling alone or struggling with emotions or struggling to find their place in the world. But when I made the changes to this podcast with changing it to Broken Strength, I realized that change and that reason behind it came from such a broken-hearted past, and I found my strength through the gym and following my dreams and pushing my limits that I didn't think was ever possible for me to do. And I built my entire platform off of my struggles and my accomplishments and being my true self. And I want to share that on here too. And I know that I've shared a little bit so far in the previous episodes, but I want to talk about why there's so many breaks lately in posting. I think that a lot of us come to points in our lives where we feel overworked, overstimulated, and just want a break. And I think that can happen at a young age, but also when you're older or in a different area of your life, whether you have kids, family, so much going on. I feel like we all just eventually hit a point, and it could be sooner for some than others. And for me, I feel like I'm only 24, and I feel like lately I've really hit that point. And I don't think it's because there's anything wrong in my life or I'm not doing something that I should be doing. I think I'm going to talk about it a little more, but I think there's a reason as to why at 24 I am feeling overstimulated with everything going on in my life. And lately this is just how I've been feeling, like I need a break from everything. And I don't necessarily actually need one or am going to take one, but I definitely try to limit and space myself out from social media and things that maybe aren't the most positive for my mindset in times. And I feel like social media can definitely be something that's very draining to a lot of people. And lately, over the past month, we've had so many house issues, and it was starting to break me apart emotionally and financially. It's expensive owning a home, not just buying a home. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh my god, I can't wait to do that. Hold off as long as you can. In my personal experience, I haven't had much luck. And usually, even for Tanner, we all, or both of us, have the same problem where it's when one thing goes wrong, it's a series of events that go wrong, and then all of a sudden things start to get really good, and then it goes good for a while, but then it's something happens. And we had a lot happen, and it kind of made me miss the rental life. And then we were trying to talk about, oh my gosh, should we just sell the house and move back to Kelowna, which is even more of a big expense, because if you try to get out of a mortgage, there's a lot of fines and things like that you gotta pay, and it's just a lot more work. But in my mind, I was I am done. And every time something would happen, I would just text my mom and be like, oh, not again. I'm I can't do this. But I've been starting to miss the rental life, but not because I'm not proud to own a home and happy about it. It's just there's so many things you don't think about when you do get into those states, and once they start happening, you're there's no going back. And it's hard. But I also do think about how I am 24 and I own my own business and I run a business and I have a home. I own a home. I own a dog. I have a really great relationship now in my life, which I never thought was going to be something that would happen to me. And the problem with having kind of an all or nothing mindset going on is sometimes those negative thoughts just take over, and I kind of start to forget about all those good moments and those good things, and then I only focus on the bad or the overwhelming ones, which obviously when you have a lot of these emotions coming up, you want to target them and understand like why they're happening and what you can do to alter these feelings and get out of these situations. But I do get into this all or nothing mindset when I'm having like a bad month, or if my business isn't as good as I thought it was going to be for a month, or whatever it is. I start to kind of feel like I want to give up and choosing like failure over pushing through those times, which obviously like I am aware that I shouldn't be doing that. And it's something that I am working on and I have been working on for a very long time, but obviously things take time to break through. And I am so much better nowadays than I used to be, and I'm very proud of how far I've came throughout all that. But obviously there's going to be things like this last month tested me and kind of making me a little on my mindset. But the reason I want to talk about why I have like all or nothing mindsets and why I struggle with it is because I teach women how to break through these mindsets and keep going no matter what's going on. But that's why I'm so good at doing what I do, because it's something personal that I have gone through and still go through to this day. And when I teach women that like how to break through these mindsets and to build these positive lifestyles, it's not about always being positive. The reason I love doing what I do is that I get to teach them in their current situation how to do that, but also for when it happens in the future. Because your life isn't just going to automatically be positive and happy-go-lucky 24/7 just because you made a few changes. It might be great for a bit because you're starting to understand how these changes work and working on implementing it in more and more ways. But there's still going to be times where things just don't go as planned. And then we struggle and we need something to help us guide through that journey. And I love getting to teach that. And I feel like that's something I'm good at teaching because of the fact that it's something I've personally gone through. And I think that's a huge part of like why I love what I do and chose this path in life, because I know how it feels to hit those lows that you never feel like you're going to get out of, and hitting those points where you feel like no matter how many people or the type of people in your life you have around you, you still feel completely alone and just done. I understand that feeling, and I felt that more than one time, way too many times that I would like to admit in my life. And over the past few months, I've just started to feel alone and like I have no reason or really worth. And it's not because of anything that I'm doing for myself or anything specific going on. I'm just letting these negative and overwhelming emotions just take over everything that I actually do feel, because I am a very happy person and I love being positive and I love making my best freaking day videos and helping you guys see that there's always light in the days even when things aren't going as planned. Like literally on Monday of the week that I'm filming this, so literally 1 week exactly from when this is released. So that Monday, I was just chilling, doing my live for my girls, and all of a sudden our fire alarms start going off and I'm like, what the heck? And I thought Tanner was just cooking something and like it started burning, so I'm like just sitting in my office like waiting for it to stop, and he starts freaking out and he's like, there's a fire! And full panic mode. Neither of us really remember what happened in the situation, because it was one of those things where it's like you just go like, it's like fight or flight just takes over and you just start panicking and doing everything and anything you can do, and you don't remember anything that you did. So it's just like, what do I do the next time that happens? Because I don't remember what I did the first time. But instead of being like, yes, it did freak me out the first day and I was panicked and I was nervous to leave my dog even the next day, even though it wasn't anything to do with our house that actually caught on fire, or something that was just in Tanner's office. So there's like no harm in the house, and we got rid of everything that could possibly do that again. And I was so terrified to like leave the house and like leave Charlie in here to go to even just do my 30 or 40 minutes of cardio. I was nervous because I'm like, well, he stays in a kennel, and what if he's home and something happens? Like, it was making me panic. And instead of letting it like dwell throughout the week, like obviously it affected my mood. But the next day I was with my mom and we were going to buy screws to hang up a little rack in my closet. And as we were checking out, I was like, ooh, and she kind of looks at me and I turned around and I grabbed a fire extinguisher. I'm like, just in case. And we both just started laughing, because it's like sometimes you have to make like a positive or like a funny kind of time out of like bad situations, because if you constantly let things just like take over your emotions and let them overrule how you're feeling, you're never going to get out of that feeling. If I were to have just sat there all this past week and let fear take over if something could possibly happen again, I probably wouldn't have left the house at all. I would have probably gave up on my prep. I wouldn't have went and done my cardio or my workouts or anything. I would have been so overwhelmed that I couldn't handle leaving the house. And I've been in those situations before where I've got to that point of not being able to leave, and it sucks. But I made a funny joke about having a fire extinguisher, and then I made a story saying, haha, safety's first, or safety's first, safety first, and it made it easier, because I'm like, I know I have it just in case something happens in the future, but also it made me laugh in the situation, because it's like, it wasn't really that bad of a situation when it happened. Obviously, like anything to do with fires are terrifying, especially when you own a home. Another terrifying thing about owning one. But it's like all your stuff's here, you have memories here, and it was just a very overwhelming time. So I made a funny joke about the fire extinguisher, and now I have one just in case something happens again. But I have just felt like completely alone with no worth or reason, and it's just been a lot. And it's not, like I said, because of anything like going on in my life or anything that I'm doing. It's just, I think there's just been so much buildup of my life in general that I maybe haven't dealt with properly. That's kind of started to affect how I'm feeling today. And I know that I can also change this and make a better outcome for myself and my life, but I can't keep living in these negative thoughts. And so you always have, and I know you guys have probably heard this and it's gonna sound cheesy, but you have control of your life. Like, you have to make the decisions for you to change and have these changes actually happen. And hitting points of feeling like you're worthless or have no reason suck more than anyone can explain, and it changes your entire perspective on life and what you're doing. And for me, like, I think something that's been super overwhelming and something I don't share very often, because it's so funny, when I started social media, all I wanted was to be an online coach, and I was like, every time somebody would say like, oh, you're just another influencer, I'd get so mad, and I'd be like, could you not? Like, I had like maybe 10,000 followers at that time, and I'm like, I'm not even close to that, and I hated when people said that. But the more my account has grown, the more impact that I've had on people. And I'm not saying that in a conceited way. Like, I just get messages, and I appreciate all of them. And it makes me very happy to do what I do. And it started to open my eyes that being an influencer isn't just about being like crazy online and all like free things or whatever it is. Like, I would love, and I have a huge dream of being like a content creator one day. And even just like making like livings off of that stuff or extra income off of it, to literally do what I love every single day of my life, and on top of that keep my business running. That is something that I love to do as well. Like, having two of my favorite things to be my biggest part of my life is a huge dream for me. And I feel like I'm not ashamed to like say that, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, you just want to be a content creator because you don't want to work. Like, it's a lot of work. I don't think people realize like how much effort goes into filming, editing, content creation ideas, like everything that you see on social media. It's not just like open your phone, click a button, and woo, it's up there. Like, it takes a lot of effort. And I would absolutely love to be able to do that one day. But every time I get excited over this thought of maybe one day I'll be able to do that, I lose followers, or one of my posts just flops, and I don't know like where I go wrong, and I don't understand how it works or what I need to change. But that's when I get in my own head and I start feeling like worthless and unwanted, because I see so many people just like blow up quickly and get everything that maybe I've been dreaming of doing, get it instantly. And it's very frustrating sometimes. And I feel like if you aren't a social media person and you're listening to this, you won't understand that, and you're going to be like, why do you just compare yourself? I'm not necessarily comparing myself to what other people are doing. I just have been doing this for 7 years. And I've gotten nowhere pretty much with it. And I say that in a sense of like, it just does not work in my favor, because I know I've gotten somewhere. I have like 7,000 followers. It's gonna be lower than that soon, because it's just continuously dropping. And again, that's a negative way to speak about that needs to stop. But I see so many people do this stuff instantly, and it's like, what am I doing wrong? And that's why I posted like, should I delete this account, make a new one? And I get very frustrated. But comparisons kill. And it's so true, because it killed so much of my drive and my creativity, and it let me like, how can I explain this? It let me stop doing what I love and just putting it on the back burner, because I was like, well, there's no point in making a reel today because it's not going to get any views and nobody's going to like it. It's not going to have any impact, yada, yada, yada. I would instantly get into these mindsets. And that's why like my posting has been super weird over the past few months, because it's like, I'll get an idea and I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. I post it and it gets nowhere. And I'm like, well, that was pointless and waste of time. And then I don't want to do it again. And when I went in, or when, I can't speak at all. When I went to Texas and to visit like Alpha Land and try all that stuff and see that world, it made me realize like how much I truly love doing this stuff and how I want to do it forever, because it's something that I genuinely love. Like, I have tried so many different jobs. I have tried my family's business where I could be beyond successful in it, and it doesn't matter to me how much money you make from something or the status you have in life. Like, my goal is to be happy. And the reason that has became my goal, and it's not oriented around like money or cars or houses. Like, I love my house. This would be a perfect home for the rest of my life kind of home. I do not care. First of all, I don't want a mansion because who the heck in the world wants to clean one of those? And I don't think I could physically or mentally or hire like a cleaning person. I don't like that lifestyle. And I don't care for any of that stuff. And I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want all this stuff because I want to have like the status. For me, like, I just want to do what I love. And content creation, being an online coach, helping women succeed in their lives and crush their goals, like, those are the things that make me the happiest. And when I went to Texas, it really made me realize like how much it actually meant to me to be doing this stuff. And I didn't feel any pressure when I was there. And I didn't feel pressure to like compare or feel like I was doing anything wrong or that something was wrong with me. Like, if I could move to Texas, to be honest, I would move in a heartbeat. Like, it made me so happy because it was a place full of people doing the things that I love. And you don't feel like you're in the wrong or not in place or whatever it is. Like, you just feel accepted. And it gave me so much like light to my darkness that I was going through. And it kind of gave me like hope of maybe one day I could be like an elite athlete and actually do what I've dreamed about doing. And I know, again, like, that's something that's just like, it seems so like far-fetched to say something like that, and like, it's true. Like, it's a goal I have. I would love to be a content creator. I love Elfily, and I would love to be an athlete. Like, who doesn't want that? I feel like anybody that's a fitness girl, either Gymshark or athlete, are like the two things that they're going after. And I started to get all this hope up, and I was so excited. I felt so motivated. And when I came back, I gave up on myself again. And I let these negative thoughts overrule like any positive in my life. And the reason that I feel like that happened when I came back is because I don't live in a place that's a content creation place. There's like maybe like 2 influencers in my area. And like, that, it's just not the vibe here. Like, and when you go to the gym and you film, like, people just glare at you or get mad or like stand in front of your camera to like try to piss you off. It's so frustrating that it just makes you not want to do it. And I started to like self-sabotage everything in my life over the past little bit. I stopped putting effort into my business. I stopped putting my heart into what I post. I stopped being myself, and I started living for others again, which is something I have worked so hard to break free from, because growing up, no one liked me. And when you have those feelings like as a kid and as a teen, you start to just become like a slight people pleaser. And I feel like over the years, I had been stuck in that. And so after my last relationship, when I got out, I was like, okay, like, this is time for me to start putting myself first and giving myself the attention that I gave other people. Because I gave everything to anyone that was in my life, but no one ever gave anything to me. So it's just like, I got to a point where I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to focus on myself. If people come into my life that are a positive, then great. I have people in my life right now where it's like, if I message them, they'll have a very great conversation, but would they ever message me first? No. I don't have people that reach out to me. And I started to get back to that feeling of like, I needed to be like a people pleaser. And knowing that, like, how hard it was for me to break free from that originally, it's kind of sucks knowing that I went a little bit back to that. But when I look over like how I have felt and everything that I have been struggling with, I slowly started to realize that I miss being a kid. And not because of like responsibilities or expenses, but because I miss so many years of like having fun and making friends and being free, because I grew up at such a young age to try and like fight for my life, because at 16 I didn't want to continue. And I feel like at 16 I had to be an adult. And not because anybody forced me to be like that, but because if I was trying to live this happy-go-lucky kid lifestyle, I don't think I would have matured to realize that I had so much more to live for in life. And I didn't, when I was 16, I didn't want to see like what my life would turn out like. And that was because I felt so much pain in young ages, and I didn't know how much worse it could get, and I didn't want to experience that or experience more pain. And I knew that was going to come, because obviously, like, you know, you're going to go through like heartbreaks or the excitement, but the pain of like moving out of your parents' house. And even for me, like, I always knew at the back of my mind that I didn't want to work like for my family, but I also was terrified of having a business because I was scared of failing for my business and failing being successful or making a career. I was just, it was a lot, and I didn't want to experience that after the pain that I experienced as a kid and teen with being bullied. And realizing that I grew up so young, it made being 24 now so much more stressful. But because instead of being an adult the past like 4 to 5 years, from like 18, 19 years old to now, I've been doing it for like over 8 years. And I feel like I just never allowed myself to be that kid. And I felt like I always had to be so strong, so I didn't cave into what kids would tell me to do. And I find now at like 24, I'm overstimulated by every little thing that happens and break over the smallest things. And I find that I struggle more now that I actually don't have that much bad in my life than I did when I did. And because I feel like this is because I never fully healed. And I kept finding ways to like push aside those feelings or cover them up, which is also why I feel like I was, can I speak English? Why I always had not the best like friend groups, where it was like I would just hang out with everybody and we'd go party and I didn't care about anything. And I think it was just more so like an emotional cover up for the pain that I felt. Something that I've learned being 24 now and realizing that I never really felt like I had the best like teen years of my life, it's okay to be where I'm at right now, because I don't need to have my life together or understand everything that's going on or what I'm going to do and where my life's going to go at 24 years old. There is absolutely no time frame in life. And when you're a kid, or if you're a kid or a younger kid listening to this, or teen, you'll feel that pressure going into like your 20s, where you think you have to like make a choice for a career or get married or have kids by a certain age, but you don't. I feel like when I was a teen, I always thought I had to get married in my early 20s. I had to have all my kids by 25. Like, there was so much stress from like what other people did, and back in the day that was very common. Like, my parents got married young and they had kids by 25 and like 27 or something like that. But I'm learning that like there's absolutely no rush for a timeline or time frame for any of that stuff, because every single person's life is going to be different and every person's path is going to be different. And there's no time frame on life, and I'm so thankful that I'm like learning that now, because it gives me more hope that like things can get better still, and better things are still to come, no matter what age I am or how old I'm getting. And when I say that, I mean, like, everybody's lives, like I said, are on different paths, and that's why it's so important to not compare yourself to someone's life, because somebody that you're maybe comparing to, they could be at like their 5-year mark in life and you're only at your first year. So they're never going to look the same. So it's like when people look at like my social media and where my body is at now, it doesn't mean that you can't get there too, but my year 8 isn't going to look like the same as your year 1. Everything's going to be different, which is why comparison kills, because we compare to things that aren't even close to being realistic. And when I think about like where I'm at and what I'm kind of wanting in life, I realize like I might not be how I expected I'd be as a teen, with how I thought I was supposed to be married like young and have kids and all this stuff, but that doesn't mean that's never going to happen for me. And it also gives me more time to heal from things that I never actually properly healed from. And with my like experience, especially over the past couple years, being 24 is just a number. And I feel like the older we get, the more we're like, oh my God, we're running out of time, and we're not. A lot of the time, people don't hit that freedom success until they're like 40 or 50. But the problem is this, our entire like society now is all about like young entrepreneurs, and we all stress in our 20s, instead of living in our 20s, about we have to be more successful than everybody else, because we can't do that when we're 30. We have to be living in freedom, like free when we're 30. Like that's kind of where the world, I feel like, has gotten to. And I've really learned that we don't have to rush anything. And it's okay to not be maybe where you thought you were going to be when you were a kid, because kids dream unimaginable dreams. Like, who, if you're listening to this, did you guys ever have a dream as a kid that you were going to become a princess or a fairy? I feel like all of us had these just mind-blowing dreams as kids. So when we got to like the teens and we started to realize like, huh, I'm not going to be a fairy when I grow up, but you start to think like, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then you start to rush it, and then when you get to a certain age, you get overwhelmed with how you're not at that point yet. I feel like a lot of us do that. And when we start to like self-sabotage, we really start to lose sight of where we're at and push unnecessary pressures on ourselves to be maybe where somebody else is at, or where we thought we should be at, which isn't going to happen in a certain time frame or right away, because that's not your life that you're comparing it to. If you're comparing it to somebody else and it's not your journey, and those unnecessary pressures, they aren't necessarily motivating us to do that good, to be where somebody else is, where it's just motivating us to not do what we need to do, and it's going to set us up for failure. And your journey is going to look a lot different than another person's, and that's completely okay. And it's okay if it takes you more time to do something or to get somewhere in life. And it's okay if you have moments of struggle, because those people that you compare to also experience struggle, even if it's not shown to you. If you're watching people on social media and they're posting about their crazy cars, crazy adventures, how their body looks, and never anything about struggling, it doesn't mean that they don't struggle. Being on social media, I try my best to be as open and honest. Obviously, it's my life. Like, I do want to keep things to myself, but some people don't open up on social media. And the reason being is that it's a lot. And it's not just posting a video or posting a photo. When you open up on social media, you are opening up a whirlwind? Is that the right word? Of crazy comments and misconceptions about literally everything. I could literally post myself drinking something and people would just like completely blow it out of proportion and be like, oh, she doesn't care about her health and blah blah blah. Like, one time I posted a picture of water on my story, and I wrote down all the benefits of drinking water. And somebody reshared it, and was like, she's such a dumb idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm like, it was water. Water is important. But literally, as soon as you put yourself on social media, it is so overwhelming with what people will do to you and say about you. I get bashed all the time. I've learned that I don't care to an extent because I'm doing what I love. I'm sharing and being open and honest as much as possible, so you guys can realize like you're not alone and you're not the only one experiencing these feelings or struggling with these different areas of your life. Like, you are never alone, and there's so many people that you see on social media that might be going through the same thing even if they're not sharing it. And you have so much to live for and so much to do in this world, and you can and you will make a big impact one day in your life. Maybe it's just to one person, or it could be to a bunch of people, but that is a huge reason alone not to give up on yourself, because you don't know what you're truly capable of doing or achieving until that comes. Sometimes we have no idea what we're doing or what's going to come from it, and then all of a sudden everything makes sense. When I started social media, I used my account literally just to post that I made YouTube videos. So I would post like the thumbnail and be like, go watch my YouTube. And nobody followed me, nobody watched them. And I got to a point where I started like kind of starting to post like what I post now, like workout videos and gym photos. And at first it was like I get comments like, nobody cares, stop posting this, like you're not helping any, like just stupid comments like that. And it kind of took a little bit of a toll on me when I first started, because it was like, well, I want to help somebody. And eventually I got to a point where it's like I maybe had a couple thousand followers, and it was like, oh, I needed to hear this today, or I really appreciate this post. And it was like, whoa, like I just helped somebody, or I just made somebody's day, or that was what somebody else needed to hear too. I'm not alone. And it made me not feel alone when I would share different things that like I'd be going through. And I remember when I started the best frickin' day videos, they were aggressive when they started, I'm not gonna lie. I needed something that made me happy, because I got out of a really bad relationship and I was so negative. I went to therapy because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions, because being in like a narcissistic relationship with somebody like that, it's very mentally tolling. And I remember going to therapy and her explaining to me like what was going on and why these things kept happening, and it wasn't because of me, it was because of the other person and what they were going through and how they reacted to things, not necessarily like anything I was doing. And I remember just being like, you know what, like I can't keep letting these emotions like bring me down. So I woke up one day and this was back when I had Snapchat, but it also was back when like Snapchat had that weird like big faced filter with the cartoony voice where you could talk and it would just like change your voice and you had like this massive circle head. I remember talking in that and being like, I don't remember what I said, but it was the most aggressive best freaking day video I have ever done in my life, because it was the first one. But I was like, wow, that felt so good to like say that. So I shared it on my Instagram story, on my Snapchat story, and from the first day that I shared it, I haven't stopped. I've missed like a few days here and there. I've missed a couple weeks when I lost like my grandpa, but other than that, like I've literally shared it every single day. And when I started sharing it, I was like, this is so ridiculous. I'm like, I'm gonna get judged so much for this. And it turned out to be one of the coolest things to have, because when I first shared it, I got so many messages being like, wow, like I really needed that energy and that message today. And I was like, cool, like I'm healing myself and I'm helping other people. And it was like the most just like heartwarming thing. And it's funny because nowadays people don't even know what my name is that follow me, but I will have people come up to me at the gym and be like, you're the best freaking day, girl. I'm like, oh my god. And it's so cool because I started my social media platform because the gym is the thing that saved my life when I was 16, and that's when I started making like YouTube videos and made my Instagram. And I started it as a healing process for me and something that made me happy. And it turned out to be a place where I could do the same thing for other people and help them through those times and give them a little bit of like sunshine in dark days. And we all underestimate the power that we have to other people because we don't feel like we can make an impact or that we're doing something good enough for it. But you can take it from me. The smallest thing, like yelling at people through a phone screen to tell them to have the best freaking day ever, can make a huge impact. And it changed my life because it made me realize that like there's something good every morning. Even if I didn't feel like it, I would always rant on my stories in my best freaking day videos and talk about everything going on, whether I was feeling amazing, I was feeling like crap, I was tired, I was hungry, I don't care what it was, I talked about everything. And by the end of my video, I always said, I hope everybody has the best freaking day ever. Everything I shared, whether it was positive or negative, always ended with a positive message. And that's something that I've always wanted in my life, and how to live my life is to have, doesn't matter how many negative things happen, there's always something that's positive to think about and positive to come out of situations. You could have your heart absolutely shattered, but it might just make you the strongest person ever, and that can be a huge positive. Or you might find the right person after that happens, and that's a huge positive. You never know what's going to come in life. Life is rudely kind of surprising. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes not so much, but you never know. And so you can't constantly live in this fear of like what's going to happen. And you have to live in a moment of, this is what I'm going to do today, this is what I want to happen, and not giving up on yourself. Because you have so much purpose in your life, and you have so much reason to be here, but you just might not have found it yet. You might not realize it quite yet, but you will one day, and I can promise you that, because even in my darkest times lately, I know I have a reason. Even when I get to those mindsets of feeling like maybe I don't, I know I have impacted a lot of lives, and I know that I can continue doing that one day, and maybe we'll grow and we'll expand and we'll get to that point of being where I want to be, but there's no rush time frame for that. It might happen this year, it could happen next year, it could happen in 5 years, like you never know. But the biggest thing that I always remind myself is that there's always a reason, you always have worth, and you never want to give up on yourself. And it doesn't matter how many people give up on you or how many people tell you you can't do something, you are in control of your own life. If you want to do something, you have to go after it, and you are more than capable of achieving it. I promise you, but you cannot give up on yourself. So my focus now is to get back on track. I have all of my days planned out. I've organized my schedule. I have everything set in stone that I want to be doing. My content creations, my podcast, all my videos. I've gotten pretty good with YouTube. I started doing vlogs for my prep because I'm like 10 weeks out of prep, I think now. And I feel like the smallest little things, like literally just making a daily schedule for myself, helps me so much. Yesterday I got everything done I needed to do, and that's where I'm starting. I'm literally starting day by day and making sure that I just check off my list. Even if my list has 2 things on it that day, I'm going to get them done. Or if it has 20 things, I'm going to be focusing on doing what I need to do to make these dreams come true. But doesn't matter how bad things get or how negative you get, there is always a reason to keep going. I can promise you that. So, like I said, I'm taking this day by day. I'm focusing on myself. I'm going to get back into my routine. I'm going to be posting podcasts. I got my little setup now. I'm going to be doing a lot more content that brings my heart happiness and is something that like I just want to share, rather than like, oh, the trending audios or trending videos. Like, I just want to be myself. And that's what made my account grow in the first place. And I feel like I've lost a lot of that. So that's my focus. And I just wanted to be open and honest with you guys, because I know there's a lot of people that struggle with this, and it's hard to find like somebody to relate to. And sometimes it's hard to talk to people that are in your life because maybe they see different areas of your life that you don't maybe bring up, or that just look so positive all the time, and then it's hard to bring it up because you don't want people to think there's something wrong with you, or that they might just judge you for how you're feeling. And I know personally that I do struggle sometimes to be open and honest, and I've worked so hard on that to let people into my bubble more, to have people to be there to support me and to help me through those times. And I want to be open and honest. That way, if you guys don't have somebody in your life like that, or you don't feel like you can yet open up, you know that there's somebody there that does understand. And I've always said this in my podcast and in my social media. If you ever need anything, you can always DM me on Instagram or email me, or any contact that you have of me, you can always message me and I will chat with you guys through it, because I know how hard it is to feel like you are alone. And it doesn't matter what happens in the world, you're never fully alone. There's always one person, even if it's me, that you don't know, it's just from social media. There's one person that will understand what you're going through and be there for you. So I just wanted to chat with you guys today, get back into the podcast, and kind of let you know where I've been and why it's been so hard for me to even think about this. Because every time I want to post on social media, I'm just like, no. And I just want to hide. Because I'm like, if I post this, I'm going to get judged for posting this, and then I don't want to post something. So I'm really trying to work out of that mindset. I'm trying to get back to it. I feel really good right now, and I'm excited to be back. But just know you're not alone ever with anything going on in life. There's always somebody that understands or has gone through the same thing or is going through the same thing, and I'm always here if you guys need anything. But thank you so much for tuning into this podcast episode. I am super excited to be back. If there's anything you want me to talk about, just let me know. Like I said, you can DM me, email me, and I can always add them into the episodes. But I'm super excited for this and to get back. And we'll have a sign eventually soon. I'm going to get a new chair, but we're going to have an actual background for the podcast, which again is super exciting. So we're making good changes. But I hope you guys have the absolute best freaking day of your entire life. Have a positive mindset, positive attitude. Go crush your day or your week. And I will see you guys next Monday morning, bright and early.